Alrighty, well, you're not going to believe it. I can hardly believe it myself. This was first released December 2020, and we had it on pre-order probably 6 months before that. And now we are August 2022, and I finally get my hands on Swedish Volunteers. So the first batch, I believe that there was a problem with the printing of the counters, and then they just waited for an opportunity to reprint the counters, and they printed very, very few of these. So it's finally here, Swedish Volunteers. Now this is a remake of a scenario pack done by a third party. Let's say who it was. I don't remember, but it was two guys, I believe, from Sweden, and I believe the original counters for this were white. And so now we're going to see what color that MMP made everything. So let's start by opening it up. Here we go. So let's see what we have here. We have Swedish Volunteers ASL Action Pack number 15, new counters, and 16 scenarios. So 16 scenarios, quite a bit. So what we get is one front cover sheet, check. One back cover sheet, check. 120 half-inch counters and 8 5/8-inch counters. Chapter Z rules and 16 ASL scenarios. Thank you for your purchase. You are welcome. Thank you for making it. Alright, so this is the counter sheet. It's a little half counter sheet. It's a nice little shade of blue, much like the Hungarians, I think, in Enemy at the Gates. So I like that color of blue. Should be interesting. You get concealment counters, of course, 26 of those. Some support weapons, I guess, mostly Axis Minor and Russian. And then some squads, and these are pretty good squads. So their first line squads are 5/4/8s. That looks pretty familiar. What are the broken sides? 8. That's like German paratroopers. Pretty nice with assault fire and spraying fire. And then 4/4/7 second line squads, like the British, and 4/3/7 green squads. So these are some pretty good troops. Then you have a bunch of leaders. Let's do a quick look, and nope, still no Ritter. Oh well, maybe next module. Alright, some heroes and some other support weapons, and then no tanks, no vehicles. They do have an 81mm mortar. It is not the German one because it has a minimum range of 3, not 2. And 37mm anti-tank gun. That's probably similar to the German one. And then a couple of artillery pieces and a couple of large question marks and a sniper counter. Alright, wonderful. Ooh. What does it say on the back of that? Swedes, leader, CR, DRM. Oh, leader creation DRM. Oh, so it gives you kind of those rules. Heat of battle DRM, red to hit numbers, and OBA is 6 black and 3 red. Alright, sounds good. Oh, and this cute little turn counter with the Swedish crowns on it. Alright, let's see what we have here. So we've got the first of 16 is a 10-ton tank, so February 27, 1940, and that'll be in Finland, so they're helping out their brothers. And be some light Russian tanks against, and that's really small, 4.5 turns. I'll go pretty quickly. Then a 5.5 turns, more Swedes against Russians in Finland. And then 5.5 turns again, but this is 3 boards, almost complete boards, and still quite small. Alright, then another 5.5 turner, and this will be the Germans against the Swedes in Norway in 1940. Nice. Alright, then we have the Finns and the Swedes against the Germans in 1940. I like those early war scenarios. Then we have the Finns and the Swedes against the Germans in Norway in 1940. Then we have the British and the Swedes against the Germans in Norway in 1940, and I think I'm going to stop saying 1940 because if they're in Norway, chances are it's 1940. Then we have the Russians against the Swedes in Russia in 42. Pretty small, like 7 squads against 8 squads. Good quick playing, 6.5 turns on this one. Back to Norway. Oh, I think I already called that one out. Alright, Through Mud and Blood. And this is 1942, Finns and Swedes against the Russians in Russia. And in Russia again, the Swedes against the Russians, 1942. And Mexico and Morocco. No idea what the Swedes and the Russians have to do with Mexico and Morocco, but this will be Russia in 1942 again. And then Finland in 1944. 5 turns. These are all really small scenarios. I like that. And then, yeah, like look at this. 6.5 squads against 15 squads. But in Finland, and Finland again in 44. 12 squads against 13 squads and a couple tanks. Alright, then another 6-turn scenario, and back to 44. Finns and Swedes again, and Finns and Swedes again. Alright, and they get some Stugs this time, so they do get tanks. Right. Borrowed Finnish or German ones. Alright, and then we have Chapter Z. Tell you all about the Swedish volunteers. And then these are pretty thick pages. And then Swedish notes. Historical background, that's my favorite part. And I believe that's it. And then a back sheet. And I believe that's it. 1 counter sheet, 16 scenarios, and some notes. Thanks so much for watching.